This program is powered by AIM Employers Association and Ogletree Deacons, a Feature Group USA production.
Hello, everybody. I'm Phil Brandt, President and CEO of AIM Employers Association. Computer giant HP just announced plans to cut to 6,000 roles by 2028 as more tasks shift to AI. And they're not alone. Once those tasks are lifted out of jobs, what actually remains in the role? How does this impact competition? We're joined today by a special guest to discuss this and more, all on This Week at Work.
Welcome to This Week at Work, the only show to pack workplace news, practical HR solutions, and timely insights into every 30-minute episode. From the latest rulings in the courtroom to the strategies unfolding in the boardroom, and from real conversations taking place on the front lines to spotlighting what similar companies are doing about the challenges they face. This Week at Work brings you the conversations that matter most to HR professionals and business leaders like you. Brought to you by AIM Employers Association and Ogletree Deacons, live every Thursday morning. This is your opportunity to connect with their experts and ask your burning questions. So what's keeping you up at night? Let's face it together now on This Week at Work.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Bert, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Phil. I'm getting ready for the big chill on Saturday night. How about you? Do you see that?
When you're talking about the weather change?
Yes, it's supposed to be 3 degrees on Saturday night. I'm not ready for this yet.
I already thought this was the chill, man. Anything below 50 is the chill to me. I'm a warm-weathered person. I don't like this cold weather at all. Bert, we got a great guest, Dr. Scott Koeneman, with us today. And I want you to say hello to him. He's going to be a wonderful part of our conversation. We're going to talk about several different things, but he's got some great insights. So say hello to Dr. Scott for us.
Good morning, Dr. Scott. How are you today? And nice to meet you.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you guys. Big fans.
All right. Scott, you got a lot going on. We're going to talk about a lot of things, everything from enterprise transformation, AI automation, and you're a leader in that space. You have a Lean Six Sigma black belt. You're an author and hypnotist. And I know Bert would probably want to know about hypnotizing people. He'd like to be able to do that if he's working with the jury and get them to lean on his sides. But your book, Quantum Intern, 1 year, or year one, tell us a little bit about that real quick.
So Quantum Intern Year One is a book that describes my first year of going from a complete normie into this world of hypnosis. You know, picture a guy working in an office cube, suddenly deciding to do something awesome and crazy like past life regression hypnosis, and telling himself, if this is a thing, I guess I need to keep doing it, right? And so the book is sort of my personal fumbling through that journey of that first year of clients and them having such incredible sessions and me taking that information and then going and researching the facts and finding the personas and the personalities that they were telling me that they relived during the hypnosis session. So that's briefly what it's about.
Yeah, great. Sounds very interesting. I know we can get it on Amazon. Any other channels you want to promote getting that through?
Other than the book, just my website, matrix-hypnosis.com, for folks that are intrigued.
All right, excellent. Well, we're going to talk about a lot of other things other than hypnosis. I know you do some work with veterans as well, and helping them. Tell us a little bit about that real quick before we get to Lawyer on the Clock.
Yeah, so I offer my hypnosis services to the veteran community. We work with Grunt Style Foundation, which is, if you know Grunt Style, the brand, they're one of the largest patriotic T-shirt outfitters in the country. And so every year they put on this a few different events. One of them is called Integration, and veterans come to a camp here at Quiver River State Park, and myself and several other practitioners of different modalities, we go there and we offer our services to the veterans. And then we work with them also throughout the year on different events as well. So I volunteer my skills for the veteran community.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And thank you for doing that. That is tremendous.
That's really good. Bert doesn't volunteer anything.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I call him on a Tuesday at, 7 in the morning. He's like, yeah, you're on the clock, Phil, go. What you got? And I'm like, come on, buddy. I thought we were friends. But no, but that's a really, it's a great thing you do. Scott, we're going to get right back to you in a minute. We got our favorite section here coming up on Lawyer on the Clock. Bert, are you ready?
I'm ready, Phil.
Okay, Nick, pull that lever.
Curious about a case that could wreck your workplace? Lucky for you, we have a lawyer on the clock.
So, Phil, instead of talking about a couple of cases today, I thought I'd talk about the Fed chair's meeting yesterday, his press conference, Jerome Powell's press conference that took place yesterday. To calm my ADD, I have to keep the TV on in the background in my office. And so
we can probably talk to Dr. Scott about some hypnosis techniques for that.
It might be a good idea. My wife might thank you. So to calm my ADD, I was listening to his press conference yesterday, and so the Fed had a 2-day meeting just the past few days here, and yesterday they lowered the Fed's interest rate by 25 basis points, lowering the federal funds target range to 3.5 to 3.75%. That's the lowest level since 2022. And that represents a total basis reduction of 75 basis points since September of 2025, and 1.75 basis points or 175 basis points over the past 2 years. So it's really interesting. He described the economy. We've been talking on the past, many weeks and if not months, about the number of layoffs going on in the economy. And interestingly, Powell yesterday described the economy as resilient despite the softening labor market. And he said that consumer spending is holding strong. Business investment has been buoyed by sectors like AI infrastructure and data centers. Unemployment ticked up very slightly. He highlighted the significant downside, though, of risks to hiring, emphasizing that the Fed's focus on supporting the job market without overheating inflation remains on track toward a 2% target. So I think that's what they're eventually trying to get to, from an inflation standpoint. And he made a couple of really interesting comments that I think are pertinent to our show here, things we've been talking about extensively in the past, like I said, weeks, months, maybe even years. And one thing in particular, he said, he repeatedly addressed artificial intelligence as a key tailwind for the economy. He said that he's crediting that with ongoing investments in AI infrastructure and data centers. And that's really what's sustaining business spending and contributing to optimistic 2026 growth forecasts. He also suggested that AI-driven workforce efficiency could enable faster growth, domestic product growth, faster GDP growth without fueling inflation, potentially offsetting labor market weaknesses. He also said that the Fed is not really seeing AI causing layoffs yet. He said that there's uncertainty around that in disruptions in the workforce. He said, quote, "We don't know whether it will be," end quote. But right now they're not really seeing AI creating the softness in the job market. So I thought that was one really interesting comment.
Yeah, I found that interesting as well, because there is a lot of credit given to the reasons why they're laid off. AI seems to always be mentioned, but other than in the IBM situation where they directly had a product that resulted in replacing people, it feels soft to me to say that the reason for the layoff is AI. And in the conversations I'm in, I know organizations are dabbling with it. They're doing things with it. They can see the potential of it, but it's not settling in yet maybe outside of big tech, where I think it feels tangible yet.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that. And I think what's interesting, and he noted this as well, is that even though we all see these headlines that AI is leading to layoffs, what he noted is that those people aren't showing up at the unemployment lines, that they're able to get other jobs these days. And so I thought that was an interesting observation on his part. The
Yeah, and
other
we're going to
thing
talk a
that
little bit with Scott on some of that about, what are the skills needed as we do get displaced from one role to another, and maybe some new ways of thinking about that and some approaches to keep ourselves ready for the next role. But keep going, Bert.
Yeah, and one other thing that I thought he said that was really, really interesting is he made some comments when asked about tariffs. And he directly linked the recent uptick in goods inflation to the tariffs. He stated, quote, "It's really tariffs that are causing most of the inflation overshoot." But this was what I found most interesting. He described that literally as a temporary phenomenon, characterizing it as a, quote, "one-time shift in the price level," end quote, rather than persistent inflation. And he also said the effects of the tariffs are really expected to be, quote, "relatively short-lived," end quote. And this I found so interesting because the Fed and Trump have kind of been battling over this, and Trump said that the tariffs were going to be a temporary blip, whereas the Fed had taken the position that no, it's not going to be temporary, that it's going to be long-term and sustained. And so I think this was a market shift in the Fed's position on tariffs, that it's going to be a temporary blip. So
Yeah,
we'll have
because
to see.
at best, the Fed has said we don't know what it will be, a continuous rise in inflation or a blip at best, and they were not leaning towards, a short time blip.
Yeah. No, so
Yeah.
this
That's a
this was
technical word, isn't it? Blip. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so is market instead of
Yeah.
marked. But I think this was it does represent a market shift in the Fed's position on this issue. So, a lot of mixed signals out there, both with AI and with the tariffs. The markets obviously reacted very favorably yesterday to the rate cut, and we'll have to see obviously what pans out. Sticking on the topic though of layoffs, I did see an article that was published today at Bloomberg Law. The federal workforce layoffs after a year of Doge and President Trump. Phil, do you have any idea how many federal employees have been reduced in this year?
Yeah. Oh, now I'm assuming you're not talking about the temporary shutdown, just the reduction of jobs. I don't, Bert, I wouldn't even know how to guess that. I'm going to guess, well over 100,000, but I wouldn't know how to guess it.
So I'm impressed that you even went to a six-figure number, but you are way short in the six figures. 317,000 federal jobs have been cut from the federal workforce. Again, mixed feelings about this. There's a lot of people who think that the federal government's way over bloated and are happy to see these reductions. There's other people who think that probably the government doesn't have enough employees, or that the economy can't sustain a loss of 317,000 jobs. Again, we'll have to see how this shakes out. But I would say that at least with respect to Powell yesterday, again, a lot of these people who are being laid off or who were laid off this year, he did say that they're not showing up at the unemployment line. So I think that does support his statement that the economy is resilient right now. So
Yeah.
I was actually encouraged by his comments yesterday because, being in labor and employment, we're sort of on the front end or the early stages of these reductions in force. We know a lot about these things before the reductions in force become public and hit the media. And I can tell you that a lot of my clients, a lot of the firm's clients have been seeking counseling this year on reductions in force. So I'm glad to see that it's not really showing up in the unemployment numbers.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is the positive, right? I mean, we never want any person to become unemployed, but we also want efficiency and we want process improvement. And it's only through those mechanisms that you are able to help control inflation. That's a significant part of inflation control. So it's a double-edged sword. And I think, that's a great segue for us to get over to Dr. Scott here and just talk a little bit about what is this new workforce and how do we look at it maybe through a different lens to better understand what we're dealing with and to stay prepared and to help people stay prepared for their next gig. But Bert, before we do that, anything else from Lawyer on the Clock?
That's enough. I'm ready to get to the mesmerizing, hypnotizing Dr. Scott.
All right. Well, before we do that, we got to get to Amy Hart. Nick, you ready?
All right, it's time to check in with the eyes and ears of AIM and everyone's favorite AI-driven HR advisor. Amy, take it away.
Thanks, producer Nick. Here's what's happening at AIM this week and why it matters, according to Amy. We're launching a refreshed year-end compliance checklist for 2025. It includes key reminders on payroll, benefits, and tax filings, what must be done before the new year. We're also running a short webinar for employer members on preparing 2026 benefit plans, including HSA/FSA limits and Affordable Care Act reporting. As 2025 winds down, missing a benefit, payroll, or filing deadline can be costly. Meanwhile, failing to adapt to AI-driven performance models may leave you behind when hiring or assessing employees for 2026. If you're a member, download the AIM year-end compliance checklist and plug upcoming deadlines into your calendar now. Join our benefits planning webinar to make sure your 2026 offerings meet regulatory and market expectations. All right, so that's what's new, what's next, and what matters. All according to Amy.
All right, Dr. Scott, welcome to the program. It's great to get to know you some. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you ended up where you're at.
Sure. I'm Dr. Scott. The way I ended up where I am is really just a result of my experience and my background. So briefly, I'm a Lean Six Sigma practitioner. I'm a self-employed AI automation consultant. And as you mentioned a couple times, I'm also a hypnotist. So, those three things kind of combined, and that's kind of who I am right now. And Bert, you made some great points earlier about, God,
you're going to inflate his head, Scott. I mean, it gets so big sometimes Nick can't keep it on the screen. Producer Nick has a hard time, but go ahead.
About layoffs and what in my consulting work we often encounter the philosophical question in the background, the implied question of, well, what is a job these days, and by extension, what is a layoff in this sort of AI infused era? And I just wanted to add to the earlier discussion that a layoff these days is more, if a layoff is not one of these cost-cutting measures due to financial strain, if it's not that, then a layoff seems to be a separation that happens after the material share of a role's tasks has been eliminated due to those tasks being automated. And if there's not enough tasks left over after automation and the company can't redeploy, that seems to be what a layoff is now, as long as it's not one of these financial strain type of layoffs. Does that make sense, gentlemen?
Yeah, no, it does. I think about many of the layoffs I've been involved in over the years, it often came, you lose a little bit of business, but it wasn't like that our task have went away, and it was a cost-cutting exercise, not a task management deployment of resource exercise. And I think that's kind of where you're leaning.
Exactly. And then I guess, this begs the question then, what skills are needed in this era, right? Because with all these layoffs, well, there's a sort of a skill lottery in a way of speaking. So I find personally there's four buckets that my clients often are redeploying and hiring for right now. And one of them is AI and data fluency. You use the tools and you read the outputs. You're working hand in hand with AI. Companies are hiring for that or redeploying to that. That's just one big bucket. But there's also security. Security is still a huge field. Networks, digital basics, things in that bucket. But then there's the third bucket, human advantage skills, right? These are the things that AI can't do well, the empathy. This is communication, conflict handling, facilitation, coaching. So those type of things are, companies are redeploying people into those things and away from those tasks that were and can be automated now. And then lastly, process work, product and change work. These things are still manned by humans. So we're seeing sort of like the jobs being automated, the tasks that made up the jobs being automated, but there is these four buckets right now that humans can still readily fill.
So one of the things that we hear when we talk along these lines is we hear about being a critical thinker, being creative, collaborative, high tech fluency. I want to put high tech fluency to the side, but I've never interviewed a single person or worked with a person that didn't think they were a critical thinker, or they didn't think that they were creative, or they always believed they were collaborative, no matter what. And not everyone is, right? But everyone thinks they are. When we think about being fluent with AI, like keeping that skill up, what does that mean when you say that? What, like, is that, I can use Chat GPT to help me rewrite an email?
That might be one small aspect of it. But for example, being fluent in AI, it goes beyond prompting. It's how you work in the skills of the AI into your own workload. So for example, in the tech programming world right now, there's a litany of low code to no code type of platforms. And AI can help someone write an application who doesn't know any code at all, right? So if you're just a process guy and you know how things should work in a Lean Six Sigma type of way, you can now write applications just like a former tech head would, 8-9 years ago. Yeah. Right? So it's really integrating the AI expertise into your regular desired outcomes, whatever shape that might take.
So we have a lot of HR professionals listen to our program, as well as CFOs and CEOs, and in that world, like to me, that's like HR is just a prime space where I think AI is going to change the way in which we work. And so when I'm working with that group of individuals on a large scale, that's exactly what I'm trying to help them get past. It's not just I used AI to help me. I used Chat GPT to help me rewrite an email, and they're like, "Hey, I've done it." It's really, the HR process, in and out exactly how things should work. It's how can you automate that process and bring efficiency to the operation on whatever it is that's happening in the hiring, in the employment lifecycle, whether it's through the recruiting, the hiring, the onboarding, the benefit management, the Q&A, the questions, whatever it might be. How does someone learn how to go from I've never even thought about writing code to I could be a no code leader?
There's probably a lot of answers on that, but in my humble opinion, Phil, it's process. You have a desired outcome in mind, and now AI can help you bridge that chasm, bridge that gap to get to that desired outcome. So
I'm assuming that they're going to program. I mean, you have to maybe attend some of these webinars and seminars and start learning the prompting and skill development for that. But yes, you have to go into it with that mindset. That's the angle I'm coming from. You're not going to learn it through osmosis. You can ask ChatGPT to help teach you. But there's probably some instruction needed in that, I would guess.
Definitely, definitely. And there's no shortage of great tools available right now to begin learning. And a lot of companies are really encouraging their employee workforce to start learning how to prompt, how to no code, how to low code. But AI doesn't come without its landmines, especially for HR.
Mm.
You mentioned HR, and some organizations in some states, for example, there was a case in I think it was California. I had the article up a minute ago, but I closed it. I believe it was a case in California where a company's onboarding system was automatically filtering out applicants over a certain age, right?
Yeah.
And I guess this candidate got wind of it and fired a lawsuit back, right? And it became a thing, AI bias in hiring. And New York requires an audit. Illinois requires an audit now. If you have a hiring system, well, now you have to make sure that your AI hiring system and your screening systems are compliant with.
Now you're talking my language.
See, now watch this. His head. Oh, just watch what happens to his head. Just because you did that. See there? Look at that. Look at his head just swells up.
Because now you're talking about the legal ramifications of AI. And one thing we're starting to see in most of the laws out there in the various states, including here in Missouri, is that the laws that are being passed, they do require human oversight of the AI to make sure that the AI is not learning how to discriminate against people based on a protected characteristic. And so I'm glad you got to that point, because I think that if somebody thinks that they're going to start using AI in the workplace and just kind of turn it loose, they're setting themselves up for a lot of unintended consequences down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've even heard, Bert, and maybe it's a conversation for the other day. I've heard someone talk about, if you're not selecting candidates now, much like when we deal with an employee who needs the interactive process and we have to engage with them, that now if you're using AI in the selection, you almost have to engage in the interactive process in order to exclude candidates that were processed through your AI automation. And there's no way that will ever be efficient if we have to do it that way.
Yeah, if you have to do a case-by-case interactive process with everybody who gets screened, you might as well stop using the AI. You're not going to gain any efficiency.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Let's get back to Dr. Scott for a minute. In the pre-show, you briefly touched on W-2 versus 1099 employee and the mindset and the shift in that. Can we revisit some of that? I found that to be a very interesting conversation, and it's a mindset for us. So you've gone from W-2 to 1099 yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess on a larger scale perspective, job candidates 8-9 years ago were used to hearing, they weren't even asked, would you prefer to work on a W-2, or would you prefer a contract style work, 1099, what have you? That wasn't really even said by and large by most large employers 8-9 years ago. It was just assumed the candidate understood that there would be a W-2. And this is Dr. Scott's humble opinion. Burton, you can strike me with lightning later if you, if you want. But now it seems employers are asking candidates, would you prefer a 1099 rather than a W-2?
That sends shivers up my spine. There's that whole legal compliance aspect, but go ahead. Don't let me interrupt you.
Yeah. So this shift of what a job is in terms of rather it being an employment arrangement, it's more of like a project arrangement, I think, is the mentality underpinning this questioning that employers are asking candidates. Would you rather have a 1099? Because employers are viewing jobs, I think, increasingly more and more as projects rather than long-term held positions. They prefer the short-term type of arrangement of a 1099. So
Yeah, and I would assume where this concept that you're introducing in AI and the current work environment where they merge together is going to send more shivers up Bert's spine in the sense that we are used to employing humans to do the same things over and over and over again. And accounting is a good process. Quite honestly, HR is very much. It's the same process over and over and over again. Maybe in larger scale, maybe in different ways, but you have the sequence of a year that you're managing, and then all the puts and takes in between. But if I'm in accounting, HR, some of these other, even supply chain purchasing, where you're executing the same task over and over again to a normalized process or procedure, that's where the ripe opportunity of AI is probably going to merge into what that is. So then that leaves us with the role of the human, which is going to be more focused probably on more project concept work. And that's where I can see the 1099 and the W-2 merging together and sending shivers up Bert's spine.
exactly.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Consideration for Bert's spine aside for a moment, I believe some of this was predicted by the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report, and I know you've referenced this report in the past. Um,
Yeah.
but to sum it up, about 170 million jobs were supposed to have been created by 2030. And whether we're on track for that or not is up for debate. But the Bureau of Labor Statistics has said they still expect an additional 5.2 million jobs from now through the 2030s. And it's supposed to be led by human-centric and healthcare type of positions. So it seems more of like a reshuffling or a realignment rather than, AI coming for everyone's job, right?
Yeah. And I think, and we say this all the time, and it's a tough thing to achieve, but it really is about being a continuous learner, and recognizing, am I in a role that is at risk? And if so, how do I maintain developing or start developing the skills that allow me to get into the next hot profession, regardless of my age, right? I mean, that's been the challenge. Someone's like, "Oh, I'm over 50 years old. I got to go out and go back to school. I got to go learn a new trade. I got to learn a new skill." The reality is, if you don't, then you may end up not having those skills and the right attributes it's going to take to be employable in the future. And that's where Bert and we talk about this all the time on the program. That's the most scary part of this, because those jobs won't come back. And we've seen that over time throughout the Industrial Revolution, when technology is set in and we start replacing people, and they're like, well, where do I go now? So it's going to be a tough road ahead if we don't have the right mindset to go learn something new, and we're not really accustomed to that.
No doubt. And
Yeah.
along those same lines, then I guess one of the groups that are actively learning something new and they are learning these new skills is small Main Street type of businesses.
Yeah.
QuickBooks just did a survey this past summer. They concluded that 68% of small businesses are using AI right now. And of that 68%, more than 90 have seen a revenue lift from it. So, and if we think about what AI does and can do for the small businesses on Main Street, really it's a scalability play. They can level the playing field with the big guys. So in my head, I think while some big tech houses and big businesses may be shedding jobs, we might see a resurgence here on Main Street of the small business that are now better able to compete with the big guys.
Yeah, one of the things that I just experienced, and I say this and sharing because I know Bert will also have a point of interest in this, and we've talked a lot about the fast food industry and the rising of wages and labor relation challenges in this industry. and that all it will do is really force people to implement more AI to offset the rising cost of wages and
or close, which is what we're seeing.
And we see both of those. There's still times, I'm driving through and they're like, well, we can't even hire anyone, let alone that we're trying to pay the wages. Anyhow, so I went through Panda Express. I don't know if any of you like Panda Express, but once in a while I can enjoy a good Panda Bowl. And when I drove through now, 2 different Pandas, so it's not just one. And if it's one place, it's going to be another place. When I drive up, my order is taken by AI. Right? So I'm getting asked questions through an AI. It's not a human that's asking me about my order and what would I like to add and anything else and what size. And if it's not right, they go back. And I found it to be more enjoyable experience than I could understand it better. Right? It was more clear. It was more thorough. It was more polite. It had all the qualities that I want when I'm driving up and driving through versus a very frustrated, halfway interested human who was not, projecting, I know, all the traits that the Panda Express management team would want them to express. So it's going to be interesting to see this evolution unfold.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, that concludes the program for today. Dr. Scott, thank you so much. I look forward to maybe having you back on when we have some exploration of Gen Z. Maybe that would be a good place to have you join. And Bert and I are going to do a deep dive into what's happening with the Gen Z and what are the things that people like and don't like about them in the workplace. I think you'd be a good addition to that conversation. So, Nick, I'm queuing that up. Maybe if Scott's willing to be a part of that program, that might be a good conversation. We do still have time for you to join the payroll tax update. That is tomorrow. It's live online. Everything in person, I believe, is sold out. We had a great program yesterday in Peoria, Illinois. Anyone that's involved with payroll at all and the changing environment with the one big beautiful bill, there are a ton of changes as it relates to payroll and payroll tax, and it is a must attend. In my opinion, it's a record attendance for us this year, obviously for that reason. So you can still go online and sign up for that. If not, we will be back here next week at 7:30 Central Time. Until then, go out and be good to someone. Goodbye.
Thank you once again for tuning in to This Week at Work. If you enjoy the show, please like it, share it, and make sure it's on your calendar every week. Ask your burning questions anytime and let us know what topics you'd like us to cover. Just go to hrask.org and be sure to leave a review wherever you catch our show to help other HR pros find us as well. We'll see you next week when we discuss what's happening this week at work.